Welcome to the Kanji Low podcast. And you're probably wondering why we started this podcast. And this is the first episode. I always wanted to have a outlet or a channel where I can just talk freely about anything AI, anything technology, anything business. And whenever it came to it, I always felt as though like I can't express fully. So I wanted to create this podcast just for any insights or thoughts that get given to me, whether it's through people, whether it's through myself, whether it's through teaching, whether it's through even working with clients as well. And yeah, I feel as though that this is a place where I can fully express without any judgments and any sort of scrutiny. Because, yeah, how often do you actually get to have a place to express fully? So, yeah, that's what the podcast is about. I don't know if I'm going to interview people or that kind of thing in the future, but I wanted to just hold this space so that whether it's myself or whether someone else who wants to be interviewed will be interviewed. So we'll see how this goes. I know for a fact I've always wanted to have a place where I can express, and this is probably it. So I feel what's really going on at the moment in regards to businesses and the energy that's not just here for the week, but I think leading into 2026 is that when you start something, whether you're starting a business, whether you're starting a movement, whether you're starting anything, a relationship, whether it's anything to do with life and any area of life, we always tend to have that fear, the fear of, will this work out? The fear of, I don't know what to do. And it really comes down to two aspects. That fear or that doubt really comes from either one, the avoidance of pain, right? You'll take certain actions because you want to avoid a certain pain, which you probably felt previously, and you don't want to feel that pain again, or the pursuit of pleasure. And that could look like working really hard on your business, working with clients, trying to get clients, getting a certain money amount. It's always coming down to two things. But if you can come from a place where you notice and are aware about these two states, you start to move differently. You move in a sense where there's insight given to you, and the next step and the next thought or the next thing that you'll say actually feels free. You don't feel as though you need to cover up. You don't need to do anything like that. And you just want to express fully. So if you can notice that whenever you're making a decision, whether is it coming from a place of, am I avoiding a certain pain or something that I feel that I don't want to feel because it might offend someone or it might feel like really shit, or it might feel as though you're busy chasing, but it might come from a place of approval, like you want to belong in a certain group. That actually is something to be aware of. And the consciousness behind doing anything really is, do you have certainty? Do you have certainty in whatever it is that you're doing to get to that next level? Are you moving as the highest version of yourself? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does he or she, I know there's genders, but again, he or she want to do, right? How do they want to move? How are they the example? And when you start moving like that, things start moving quickly, quickly in the sense of it feels like flow. It feels like the next step that you take, you don't overthink it. It feels like the person that's looking for the answer gets the answer straight away. And I'll share a story. Normally, I catch the Uber, right, to the city or whenever I go somewhere. I catch the Uber because it's really nice to just be looking out the window and not driving. Obviously, I don't mind driving. Actually prefer driving here and there. But there's some days where you just feel like, just don't want to drive today. And I was heading to a event, and on the way to the event, the Uber driver actually asked me, or he was having a conversation with someone on the phone. And that conversation, he was speaking in Indian. I don't know what he was saying. He said something about New Zealand. And the funny thing is that I'm actually from New Zealand. I grew up there. I moved over to Australia in primary. And yeah, he was asking, me about questions. And then he eventually asked the question, oh, like, are you from New Zealand? Like, do you know much about New Zealand? And I just gave him the whole spiel. He wanted the answers to his current situation with his partner because he wanted to bring his partner over to Australia. And the beautiful thing is that whenever you least expect it, you will always get the answers to whatever you want answers to. Whenever we're trying to find a solution or find the answer, obviously there is a point that we do push and we go ahead and we do everything we can within our power. But eventually they'll come to a state where there are no other options and you have to let go. So then the answer does come to you. And it was beautiful because from the person that is giving the advice and giving the expression, I actually saw that it was divinely orchestrated. And it's not just this occasion, there's been many occasions where everything has been divinely orchestrated to feel as though that there's something that's there that is just like it's giving you the cards that you want and you can just play those cards at the casino, for example. And it was beautiful to see that. So, how does this tie with business? The consciousness behind business is that you can either come from a place of certainty where you know whatever step you take and you're not sure of that step, but you take it and you find out if that's the step or not. It feels like flow. It feels as though that step is just easy, right? And there's some other days where you take that step from chaos, whether it's fueled by that avoidance of pain or that pursuit of pleasure, which creates that chaos. Like, for example, if you're angry with an employee, for example, and you really are just trying to scream at them so that they can get the work done, it's short lived. And the reason why it's short lived is because you're creating that chaos because you're pursuing that pleasure in that short lived, you could call it light or anger or emotion and that energy to get something done. But if you come from a place where you have a grounded conversation with that employee to get things done, if they're not performing, for example, you can have that straight up, let's be real conversation. They will start doing things properly because you're not coming from a place of chaos and that pursuit of pleasure or even that avoidance of pain. If you want to avoid that conflict, that person will start moving because of the fact that you're not coming from that place of anger. And everyone has their thing, right? So it could be low self worth, it could be anger, it could be, I don't know, we need for approval. But if you come from a place that you have that certainty and you don't need anyone else's approval, you don't need to, prove to anyone anything, or you don't even feel like there's any lack and you're just moving as you are, that's the consciousness to have in your business because opportunities will come up. Even in the times where it doesn't feel like there's opportunities, you'll find that that's the place where you build from. So, for example, if there's times where it's a little bit quiet, right? It's time for you to build, right? To build those systems so that you get people in. And then when people do come in, you can deliver on them, right? Because you don't have the structure in place. When you do have a lot of clients, you can always build from a place where there's a lot of clients and then at the same time build the structures and systems so that when they do come in, you can continue building, right? So again, coming from the place of consciousness, certainty over chaos, wisdom over moving in blindly, that's how we should move. And how does this relate to AI, right? If you look at AI, right? AI is a beautiful tool, right? It's technology that's out there that streamlines pretty much everything we do. But if, let's say, you don't have the foundation, right? You don't have the structures in place. You don't have the people that know about the AI who aren't even clued up on ChatGPT, for example. You can't really implement the AI systems in your business because you don't have the foundations in place, because you are not sound as a founder, right? And if you come from a place where you have a great vision and you're really good at it, you're really good at strategizing, you're really good at planning, you're really good at helping others see the vision, right? But you're not good as an operator, AI collapses time so that you become a great operator, vice versa. If you are great at operations and you're really good with systems, but you are terrible in looking at a vision grander than yours, AI can do that job for you, right? In a business, there's always two functions. There's always a visionary, someone who thinks of the vision greater than you, and it's normally the CEO, and an operator. The CEO can be both, but if the CEO is a visionary only, it needs to have people or a system that can operate on their behalf. You can't have a visionary that is not doing anything in the business, right? There's been plenty of side hustles I've had in the past, and you probably experienced that too, where you've had this grand idea, but you never executed on it, right? AI collapses that for us, right? And that's why technology needs to have the foundation first. So, again, to sum up, when it comes to the consciousness of business, have certainty, right? Certainty in whatever you're doing. You know, if you're taking that step, take that step fully. Like, don't have any shame or guilt of what that actually feels like, right? Just move and find out as you take that step, as you implement that system, as you talk to those clients, what happens. Best thing is that they give you feedback, and from that feedback, you can always improve, right? And just know you can either come from a place where there is that chaos, and that chaos, and I'll kid you not, like there's been so many times I've always come from a place with business. It's like, oh, I'm chasing, the pursuit of pleasure to, maybe get this client in the door and, try and close them as quickly as I can. But then it becomes chaos, become a really bad client. They, try to copy your strategies and try to replicate them themselves. And it just feels icky, right? But if you come from a place of certainty, you'll have clients that will stay with you for a very long time and be very sticky with you because you're certain in what it is that you offer and as well as how you're helping them. So that's the first episode for today. I will share more as we continue to go with this. And yeah, just wanted to really just express, like, how often is it that you get to express whatever it is that you're thinking of, whatever you're learning, whatever you're thinking, whatever it is that you're taking action on? And yeah, I want to just give you this energy as well as just know that whatever it is that you're doing right now in the business is fine. Like, it's perfect. If you don't know what you're doing, find someone who's doing what you're doing and, living the life that you want and be around them. And if they aren't the example and they're coming from a place of, oh, I need this because it proves my worth and, validation and that kind of thing, don't get involved because that will not serve you and you'll just learn some lessons. But yeah, everything's perfect. Just continue whatever it is that you're doing. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next episode. Yeah, we'll see how this eventuates.